As predicted, as expected, the migrant crisis has now got huge implications and blowback in the United States. Let's go take a look. Hello, everyone. I am Dr. Chris Martinson here with a scouting report. We just got to go straight to it. This is pretty dark. So, maybe you don't know, but in January of 2024, I went down to the Darien Gap. I went with Michael Yon, Ann Vandersteel, Brett Weinstein, and Chuck Holton, and a variety of other people. So I went up a canoe into the jungle, saw firsthand that the migrants coming through, I was mistaken. I thought somehow that these were just tired, the hungry, the struggling masses yearning to be free, sort of making their way north. No, this is a well-oiled machine, billions and billions of dollars being poured into the project of bringing people from wherever they are into the United States. Now let's take a look at the blowback from that and see what's happened. This brings us to Springfield, Ohio. I think it's a city of 60,000, and that's after they brought 20,000 Haitians come in. How do you even fit 20,000 new people into a city of 40,000? I don't know. At any rate, it's overwhelming everything in the city, services, you name it. But let's look at the blowback from this and see how we got here, because this was intentional. This was intentional. Self-inflicted wound by somebody. Unfortunately, not really self-inflicted, because somebody inflicted this wound upon these people who happen to live there, the citizens and residents of Springfield, Ohio. So let's start here with this.
I think it's kind of odd that a guy like me has to come out from doing what I do on a daily basis to have fun, because I see what's going on in these streets, and I see you guys just sitting up there in them comfy chairs and suits, and I'm getting out here every day, and I'm broadcasting this, and you guys are just sitting up there in suits or something. I really challenge you guys to get out here and do something. These Haitians are running into trash cans. They're running into buildings. They're running into... They flipping cars in the middle of the street.
So he's talking about Haitians operating motor vehicles, running into trash cans, trees, houses, flipping the cars in the street. That's what he's talking about there.
And I don't know how, y'all can be comfortable with this. I don't know, who's getting paid from it. I honestly feel like someone's getting paid from it in the background. You got a bunch of people on a bus getting dropped off at a gas station to come down here. I know a single mom that FaceTimed me this morning at the welfare office that really need something. And it's nothing but immigrants over there. And I don't even want to seem like I'm coming down on the immigrants, because it's the people that's bringing them down here. Because wherever they're at, that's what they're used to, bro. They're in the park grabbing up ducks by their neck and cutting their head off and walking off with them and eating them. Y'all get the Highway State Patrol down here.
That can't be right. Oh yeah, I guess it is. It is right. So he goes on to make the point that he's wondering about the incentives. Who is incentivized? He feels like somebody must be getting paid. Remember, in our framework of understanding the world, easy, hard. Hard things are things that honestly usually have common sense, or are good for the citizens of this country, or are good for your health, or are good for your finances, or are good for transparency. Somehow those things are always hard. Easy are things that harm you, destroy the environment a little bit, and or ruin your lives, right? Somehow that stuff's easy. All you have to understand is incentives. Remember, Charlie Munger said, you show me the incentive, I'll show you the outcome. Clearly, there's incentives in play here. And so this gentleman is questioning, what are those incentives? But by the time you've brought people into your community, he makes a good point. People bring their culture with them. And if you bring too many of them too fast, you overwhelm the local culture, and then you get the new culture. That is by design. You have to be a complete moron not to understand that there is a pace at which assimilation cannot happen anymore, because it's been exceeded by the pace of, and I'm going to use this word carefully, he used immigration. We have to be careful. Immigration's an awesome process. Not complaining about that. You find the right people, you figure out what you need, and you attract them to your country, to your business, to your house if you're a landlord. Immigration is a vetted process of bringing the right people into your country, but think of it as bringing them into your company. One bad apple can spoil the whole barrel. Or think about a really good renter versus a really, really bad renter if you're a landlord. That's the process. what he's talking about here is what we have to be very careful to term here. This is migration. Migration is an unvetted process, and we showed the pictures earlier this year where there were thousands and thousands of Haitians all stacked up against one border crossing in Texas. Now, how did they get there? You might think, because you might note that Haiti is an island off in the Atlantic and there's no bridge. So they had to fly or take a boat, but somehow they had to transport themselves somewhere into south of the border, get themselves to the border, and then the wire is lifted and they're let in, and then they're brought, in many cases, right here to Springfield, Ohio. So what's the impact of that? He did mention flipping the cars and all of that. Well, how about this? Colin Rugg reporting here that a Springfield, Ohio man says his car insurance rates are skyrocketing in his town because the illegal Haitian immigrants don't know how to drive. Okay, so let's listen in here. 1 second.
So fucking
And
mad
go.
right now. So I just got off the insurance company. Got off the phone with the insurance company and was told that my insurance went up because of the cost of doing business in my area. I have two nice vehicles that I'm, took a loan out on. And both of the drivers, me and my wife, have good driving records. No accidents she's never had an accident. I had an accident when I was a teenager, so it's probably been over 15, 16 years ago I had an accident. And my insurance has gone up over $100 a month within 6 months. I pay over $420 a month for insurance for full coverage on 2 cars. They're nice looking cars. So I live in Springfield, Ohio, where the influx of Haitians are, and we have had an enormous amount of car accidents because they don't know how to drive. So,
All right. And so because of that, obviously this gentleman and his wife's car insurance is going up. So here's the program. You, the taxpayer, are getting completely shafted in this story. You pay for all of your tax money to go into these big non-governmental organizations, NGOs, and they feast off of that. They get salaries, perks, benefits, all kinds of stuff as they pay to bring these people up from other countries. Just slap them over the border, slap them into your community, and then the community has to pay for the cost of insurance, the cost of reduced services, the cost of the fact that the other gentleman before mentioned that he knows a woman who needs assistance, and she goes down and the assistance office is just crammed with migrants also seeking assistance. This is very clearly, it's a program, as we've covered over and over again, that is designed to make the United States poorer and to elevate the status of people from other countries at the expense of the citizens of this country. How is that not infuriating? How is that not just completely the most maddening thing you've ever seen or heard about? You are being demanded. You have no recourse. Your taxes, property taxes, local taxes, hidden taxes like your car insurance spiking, hidden taxes like not feeling safe in your community anymore in some places, hidden taxes and overt taxes, both of them coming out so that you can pay for your own problems to come to you. And the people who are responsible for this, they take no burden off of that whatsoever. They bear no brunt of that whatsoever. So let's carry on. Let's take a look at this, right? So here we're going to listen in. I'm sorry. I do not like how this woman speaks, and I'm sorry to subject this to you, but Andrew Surabian here at Surabis on Twitter pulled up this little gem for us.
That's why, also, starting with our administration, we gave TPS, temporary protected status, to Haitian migrants, 55,000. And then more recently, we extended temporary protected status to over 100,000 Haitian migrants for that very reason, that they need support, they need protection.
Where is the ongoing support for the people who are going to have to bear the burden of this? She's just like, oh, we gave them temporary protection status and brought them into the country. We're good now, right? No. That is just the beginning of the expense cycle of bringing these people in. Okay? It's just the beginning. Many of them are going to need help. They're going to need health care. They're going to need education. They're going to need, we're going to have expanded emergency services in some cases. They're going to be competing with locals for both jobs and housing, right? This is just completely brain dead obvious. So this is the thing that's bothered me a lot over the past few years, is somehow we've gotten ourselves shot through at our leadership level with people who don't understand the consequences of actions. Oh, let's raise the shoplifting limit to $950. What's the worst that can happen? Oh, lots more shoplifting. Oh, I guess we should raise the limit higher, is their response. It's just mind-bogglingly bad. Oh, let's, defund the police. What's the worst that could happen? Oh, lots more crime. Not good. I guess defund harder. This inability to connect the abstract thoughts to the reality of what actually happens, this is the fundamental breakdown. Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, and including many Republicans who also support this view of the world, which is an abstract view of the world, which is like abstractly, oh, we want to help poor people. Nice idea. Feels good. Problem is the execution of that. They never circle back around to say, and how'd that turn out, right? It's turning out terribly, predictably terribly, very, very badly. And as we enter the next stage of this story, which is an economic crisis, it's coming, folks. And there may well be there's certainly a fiscal crisis for the United States government, which will itself precipitate a monetary crisis around the US dollar. As all that happens, resources will dry up. When resources dry up is when countries experience social unrest, if not outright war. So think back, Rwanda, Hutus and Tutsis got along for a very long time, but they'd populated themselves to the point where they had only 0.04 hectares of arable land per person. It's an intolerable situation. It went as long as it could, and then it ended in grotesque bloodshed. This is where we're heading. No question about it if we're not careful, and we're not being careful at this point in time. So this is infuriating, and of course it is eventually going to lead to people like these gentlemen we just saw going, I'm not okay with funding and my own immiseration. I'm not okay with funding my own getting poorer, because this woman has an abstract idea of how she feels better by bringing migrants in and giving them TPS, as she says. Carrying on with this story, replacement theory is now replacement fact. That's the idea that these non-native born people, these foreign born people, are coming in and they're replacing native born people. So here's what you see here in workers. This is astonishing. Coming from Zero Hedge, we see here that in red is native born employment over time, and you have foreign born workers. There's two different scales here, as you can see, right? And so the right-hand scale is the green over here, going up here from 20 million to just about 34 million-ish, I guess. And then on this other side, we're looking at employed native born. And of course, that's a very different scale there. And so that's going to be probably in the 100 million scale. But they're put into alignment, and so we can see something here, even independent of the scales of the axes of this particular chart, that from 2019 to current, native-born workers are basically unchanged in 6 years. No more jobs, additional jobs for native-born. But if you're foreign-born, new record high, and they've scooped up several million jobs. Of course, that's the point. That's what they've been brought in to do. That's why everybody who's out there, like Mark Cuban, etc., they're like, oh, we have to support these foreign-born workers. He likes it because, of course, his industry, maybe his house cleaner, his housekeeper, people who can take advantage of bringing in low-skilled, low-paid workers, they love it. They love it, of course. If you happen to be starting out in life or you're on the low-skilled, low-pay end of this, of course, these people are just direct competition for you. And here we can see very clearly that the great replacement is underway. Incontrovertible. It's just a fact. Maybe you could use different language around it, but that's where we're at. Now, interestingly, this is, all across the map, but here we have Chuck Schumer saying that our ultimate goal, this must be part of the our democracy. He's not talking about all of us. He's talking about the our, meaning whoever he represents, which is, again, a group of people who live in the abstract. They don't have to live with the consequences of their own actions. They don't care if your life gets poorer, meaner, nastier, brutish, or shorter. They don't care. But he says here, quote, our ultimate goal is to help the dreamers, but also create a path to citizenship for all 11 million or however many undocumented migrants are here. Of course. Why? Because he thinks these will convert into votes for his party, for our democracy, for that part. This is really bad, folks. This gets really dark really quickly because, of course, this is going to create tensions. Of course, this doesn't make us wealthier. This makes us poorer. No question about it. Bringing in too many low-skilled people is not a recipe for success. This should not be really anything that we have to debate or argue about all that much because it's just facts. So at this stage, that's where we're at in the story. It's pretty gross. And this whole thing, it's ongoing. It's just been ongoing. It's like the border crisis didn't go away. They just stopped reporting on it. But you can go to Twitter, like here at Aguero for Texas, and you can see that this is what it looks like day after day. And remember, Kamala, her plan, border plan, is to only allow 5,000 undocumented migrants per day, which is times 356, 1.6 million new additional undocumented migrants. Like, why wouldn't we just run a documented process? Like, hey, fill out some forms. We want to find out. Oh, you were just in a Venezuelan prison. No, thank you. Right? Oh, you are a non-contributing member of your society. Thanks. Why don't you stay there? This would be why is it so hard to have a conversation about what it would mean to actually run a proper vetted immigration process? By the way, you know what's really weird in this story? If you or I tried to do the reverse of this and become an undocumented migrant into any one of these countries, sending people up here, you would be tagged, bagged, and sent home immediately. They don't allow it. Nobody does. Except for Europe, except for the United States. That's because we are under a Western civilization dismantling project. If you don't know what I'm talking about, good luck. But listen, it's time to get prepared. There's no way. The trajectory is very obvious. This story is headed in one direction. And because it's headed in this one direction, it's probably going to continue to head in that direction due to something called inertia. You need to be prepared for that, become more resilient around that. Time, I think, is running short in this story. So I'm going to carry on this story for my subscribers back at Peak Prosperity. Keep an eye out. Come over there if you want to talk about that, because, by the way, what are we going to talk about next? We got to talk about some really dark stuff that is happening around, all that's good stuff. We'll be talking about all that. But because of freedom of speech issues, I'll be talking about this right here, and we have to have a much deeper conversation about what is going on around this stuff right here. All right. For everybody else, thanks very much for listening. For Peak Prosperity subscribers, come on back. This is explosive. We got a lot of incredible stuff breaking. I don't even know how I'm going to get through it all, but we will. With that, thanks everyone. See you next time. Bye for now.